Hey YouTube, good morning. It's Sunday morning, about 8:47, 56 degrees out here in Jacksonville, a nice day. And we have FSDBeta version 10.11.1, which is build 2022 4.5.20 that was released this morning. And I'm going out to do my Memorial Park First Impressions drive, but with a little bit of an added surprise. I have my wife's mother, Jody, here. Jody, say hi.
Hi.
So this is a first impression video. Jody's never done this with me before. Some of you that have watched all of my videos, Ellie's done it with me before. Basically, the purpose and intent is to just kind of have somebody else to talk with in the car while we're doing the drive, and also just kind of, have some conversation about the sensations we're feeling while we're driving, whether or not it's human-like or not. Ironically, Jody actually has a Model Y on order, and they ordered it late last year in the fall. And Jody, what's the status on that? You ordered it in September, October, I believe. And when's the delivery?
Right. I think they were going to deliver it this summer when we couldn't really pick it up, and so they delayed it until August.
Okay, so August. And she does not have FSD ordered, so basically that order is being pushed back a little bit with no FSD is what it seems like. Anyway, here we go. FSD 10.11.1 is engaged on our first unprotected right with our Memorial Park First Impressions drive. So it stopped and creeping. I got some oncoming traffic here. The right lane is not open. It needs to wait. Okay, it finally waited, but we were pretty far out there. And let's see if it goes here. It goes there. And as we drive away, I want to ask you what you thought on that turn.
It had a little bit more pickup than I was expecting.
So you felt the boost when we got in the lane.
Yeah.
What about where it creeped to look for traffic?
Well, I wasn't looking at the traffic, so I didn't really get the full impact on that.
Yeah, so you weren't looking left to see what was oncoming. The way the car creeps out to get a visibility for traffic, some people think, including me, that it has to go out too far, at least compared to where I drive. Did you get that sensation at all?
Yeah, I did. Now, it did brake by itself.
It stopped. Oh yeah, it's doing everything by itself. When this little blue steering wheel is on the screen, it's driving.
Okay.
My hand is on the wheel at all times, and I'm ready to take over if we need to. So you felt like you were out in the road a little bit too far?
Yes, when it was creeping out, yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't stop it. My foot was on the brake though. If we had needed to stop it, we would have. Obviously, every release that they put out, the creeping behavior, as it goes out into the road, it has to look a little farther. And what you may not know, Jody, the cameras that look to the left are back here in this what's called the B pillar. So if I lean forward, my eyes are forward of this camera, so the car has to go out further to even get the same perspective that I do. That's kind of the geometry of the cameras right now. But so it's doing that kind of slow creeping behavior. Okay, interesting. Wow. I had to disengage there. Yeah, it did an aggressive brake, not on the route.
It wanted to go right.
It wanted to go right, and it was not on our route. That was interesting. I don't know why it wanted to do that. It has never done that there before. Normally I disengage right here, and I turn right, but that is interesting. I don't know whether it saw the road and thought it needed to go to the right, and it didn't see that was an anomaly. Did it scare you?
It was it didn't scare me, but it was weird.
It was aggressive though, right?
Yeah.
All right, we've got our route back on, so I'm gonna go ahead and re-engage. So I take that right there just so everyone knows, because I go down this specific route, and the planner doesn't naturally go this route when I put Memorial Park in there. So in this situation, it's interesting because we've got the sun right in our eyes, and Jody just put her visor down, which is kind of the human reaction, but the cameras have to look right into the sun, right? They don't have a visor. It can use filtering, it can use some other things to see. So here we have an unprotected left. Okay, it just turned yellow, so it stopped for the yellow. Blinker stayed on. That was about right. It turned yellow, it waited. Yeah. Sometimes when it's accelerating, it'll go through a yellow light like a human sometimes does. And I guess it's a good thing it didn't, as Jacksonville's finest crosses right in front of us. That was a good time for the Tesla to not run a red light, wasn't it?
For sure.
Okay, so it's protected green now. We got a green arrow. So here's the arc turn here.
A little sloppy.
You thought it was sloppy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of continued to the turn and then it adjusted with a little bit of a jerk. Okay, so as we go down this road, we're heading into the Avondale. There's a lot of construction. I'm going to leave the map up here because actually, believe it or not, they're putting a traffic circle up here where there used to be a light. And it looks like the planner has me going to the right, which is fine. So let's see how it navigates this construction. Already got the signs and the barrels. A little bit of a break there. I don't know what it was braking for.
No swap.
Did you feel it though?
Yeah.
It went from about 34 to 31.
A good thing. I mean,
Yep. Okay, so with these barrels marking the drivable space, it's going to have to find its own way here. Let's see if it does it. Hey, wow, look at that.
whoa. That was tricky.
It was tricky. There's okay, let's see what it does here. It's
does.
slowed down to 15, and I don't know if it's slowed down to 15 for a light. It's completely stopped. There's nobody behind me, so I'm going to let this play out. Okay, I've got a man waving me through here, so I'm tapping the accelerator. So that was an intervention.
But
I don't know why it stopped, though, because there is no stoplight here.
it read the sign that said road closed.
Well, there's a chance, and it is going to need to learn how to read those signs. So that disengagement there was just due to my tension on the wheel going through that turn. It was very uncertain, and it took almost zero force to do it. So I think it stopped there because the map data has a stoplight. Honestly, I don't know why it would have come to a complete stop. But in general, it found that right lane to turn right, I thought, pretty good.
Yeah.
Now watch this, Jody. Let's see if it does this. On this S curve here, sometimes it turns the blinker on because it thinks the turn is so much it needs to use the blinker. Let's see here if it does it here on this left turn or this right. See it?
Oh yeah.
So even though it's following a road, it somehow is still using blinker logic. That's not appropriate. Which would be confusing if you were behind me, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What would you think if you were behind me and that blinker came on?
Yeah, that you were definitely going to turn right.
Yeah. So not only is the car needing to learn how to drive, but also it's giving signals to the outside world for drivers that might be around you to not confuse them.
Yeah.
And those blinkers are one thing that need to continue to get better.
It's kind of interesting with all the detours back there that it did navigate it pretty well.
Even though the map data basically had the lanes wrong, you're right, it did it. It did it pretty good. Obviously, there was a little bit of a confusion there with the human that was waving me through that the car couldn't perceive and see.
Yeah.
Here we have a biker. Look at the little biker on the screen here.
Huh.
There he is. See him?
Yeah.
All right, so interesting. It slowed all the way down to 12 here. I don't know why. Oh, maybe it's because
Because
that
of that
car
guy.
that was way out. He wasn't backing up, but he was sticking out.
Well, he didn't give him much room either. He passed by really tight to the back of that car.
It did. But it thought it was backing up, even though it couldn't see any motion.
Right.
Yeah. So now we have a lead car, and sometimes when we have lead cars, it can take some signals and lane centering and lane choices from the car in front of it. It's designated the lead car with a little bit darker color than all of the other assets on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and go back to widescreen view. There's a jogger on the right marked as a walking pedestrian. It did go around it a little bit. I don't know if you felt that weave. Let's see if it gives these pedestrians any more room. You feel that?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it did.
That's good. I don't like to go too close to pedestrians, so.
Yeah, I think, and how it does that, like it didn't choose to cross the yellow line there. Obviously, oncoming traffic would be a decision on whether or not crossing the yellow line was the right thing to do. I have seen it cross the yellow line before, so it's not like it's this invisible wall that it won't cross, but how it decides when to cross the line and not is always interesting to see how they develop it. They've put a lot of time in what they call VRUs. A VRU is, I think it's an at-risk user, like a pedestrian, a bicycler, a dog walker. So here's a flashing yellow. Look at this. See if it sees any red. Yellow,
Oh, yeah.
yellow.
No, yeah.
Nope, they were all yellow that time. Occasionally it sees those flashing yellows as a little bit of red, and I don't know if it's a vision thing or not. What do you do when you go through a flashing yellow? Do you stop? Do you slow down? Do you proceed if you don't see anything? How do you drive through a flasher?
Well, I guess I slow down a little bit, but I don't, yeah, unless I see, I mean, it depends on the intersection, I guess. I mean, guess I slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a yield, right? Pay attention. Obviously, you're expecting the other direction to have a flashing red, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an interesting intersection. We've done this before. We're doing a left, but we got to get in the right lane very, very quickly. Right lane. Needs to do the right blinker. It needs to jump over. It jumped over.
It.
Oh, look, we've got a car with flashers here that's kind of stopped. It looks like somebody's putting out some signs. It's green and proceeding to the right.
Oh, good. Good
They
job.
did that really good.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
That aggressive changing can get a little bit more complicated when there's there's no room because there's a car there. Here we have an emergency vehicle. I don't think we're going to see anything here, but let's just see. Sometimes we see, okay, it didn't have any flashers. Okay, it's going through that yellow.
Yeah.
Yep, proceeded straight through it. We're still waiting for the car to acknowledge emergency vehicles and like perhaps slow down or stop. Here's a dog walker crossing. Yeah, there's the dog.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Dogs are relatively new on the rendering.
That was that emergency vehicle. That was interesting. I thought it would slow for that.
It didn't, and that is a feature that they need to work on, because obviously humans you're supposed to pull over. It's the law, right, to pull over and let them proceed. Another thing that's interesting about emergency vehicles is a lot of times we hear them first instead of see them.
Right.
And the car right now doesn't have a listening system, even though it's possible that they will add that.
Huh, because that emergency it didn't have the sirens on.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but even so, you would think that it would slow.
A little bit.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit of a right turn, and we're almost halfway through. I think it's done pretty good so far. And
We haven't
quite a
gotten
few
really
interactions.
scared yet.
Well, that's good. That's right. I hadn't gotten scared yet. Going through the green light, and this is where Memorial Park is in Jacksonville, Florida. I disengage here, and I do a little bit of a U-turn up here, and I do typically a little highlight. I don't know. What do you think, Jody? Would you get on a 1 to 5? What would you grade it as compared to your expectations?
Oh, I give it a 4.
A 4.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, no, I didn't get really scared.
Yeah. I mean, I think that not getting scared isn't necessarily my objective here, but I think comparing it to what you expected, because have you ever done this before with me?
No.
No. So this is kind of what a lot of people like to have, is a perspective, an untainted perspective, because there's a lot of anticipation about where the software is going and where it is. Now, granted, we didn't have a lot of traffic interactions this morning. Traffic and high-speed interactions are, I think, the weakest point right now. But this is a city street software. Now, here's another question for you. Since you do have a Model Y on order, would you pay another $12,000 on your car for what you just saw?
Well,
It's kind of a tricky question.
Yeah, it is. Well, for us, it's probably more age dependent.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm 78 years old. I'm hoping that I'm still learning things as I go along, but my
Right.
husband and I are not ready to take that kind of plunge,
Okay.
frankly.
So it isn't necessarily about the money. It's more like you're not ready for that technology.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Well, that's
right.
fair. Do you think, for someone my age, that what you just saw as an added function is worth $12,000
$12,000 is a big number.
as a percentage
but,
of the total price, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you're, at your age, if you're going to embrace it, you need to go all the way with it.
There you go, guys. Go all the way. All right, we've got a return route in here. We're going to take a left. Now, look at this intersection. It's kind of a 3-direction turn, and it's got to creep out here. Now, look, we got some good jogger interactions here. Waiting on them nicely. Now, it needs to look hard to the left, and I'm leaning forward. It looks like it's clear to the right and clear to the left.
Wow. Okay, good job.
Yeah, they did a good job there. No traffic again, so that is generally where I'm very impressed. Its lateral navigation is getting really, really good when it doesn't have to make decisions about timing around traffic that is close. Sometimes it gets it really, really good, but other times that's where you get surprised and like, whoa, it didn't see that car or something like that. But today so far, it's had some good chances. All right, so we're basically going back to our origin with a little bit of a different route that'll throw us back out onto Roosevelt there at the end, rather than take those back roads. So it'll be similar, but a little bit different towards the end, to just get a few last interactions. What do you think about this screen? Is it too much information for you? Do you see what's happening?
Well, that's a lot of information, but I mean, I like the size of the screen. It's going to be interesting in my own Tesla how I learn to drive with the screen and such. That's going to be new for me.
Right. What kind of car do you drive now?
I have a Volkswagen Tiguan SUV.
Okay, so you got the instrument clusters, you got knobs and buttons and radios and all sorts of stuff and that's how you drive today. Where in this car, really, it's just kind of like the door open, the windows are pretty much the only buttons. You got a few similar things with the stalks and the windshield wipers, but everything else is in the screen.
It's on there. Yeah. So that's gonna be a jump for me, but I mean, it's great. I mean, you've got everything right there.
Right. So the planner's got us going straight here, so I'm going to go ahead and let it go this direction. I'll modify the route a little bit further down here. So it waited for that stop for the red, proceeding through the green. It's protected, but I always try to keep looking for the driver. Now, sometimes with these cars on the right, this is where it chooses to cross the yellow line.
Oh, that's smart.
See? It didn't that time. Sometimes it gives them a little bit more room, and if it doesn't see any oncoming traffic, it cheats a little bit to the left there.
Yeah, it'd be a little tricky if somebody was in one of those cars and opened their door. Bam.
That's always.
Maybe it would stop.
That's always a risk. I don't know how a human even can prevent that.
Yeah.
Right. You just giving the distance, I guess, in case it happens, is one thing.
I do like the distance it was staying behind that car in front of it.
Yep.
Like sometimes I feel like people ride on the back of me too closely, so the distance that it's separated from the car in front was good.
That's good feedback. Now, we also have control of that a little bit here with what's called the follow distance. You see, I had it set at 3, and see how I can go up?
Huh.
Now, interesting. Oh, it's turning right here. I didn't mean for it to turn right. We were talking about the follow me distance. So I'm going to modify the route here and disengage. So we're going to get a little bit of a special treatment on some back roads. Ooh, look, there's that car door you were talking about. So I'm going to engage it here. This guy's got his car door open. Let's see how it does this.
Oh, yeah.
Folds the mirrors.
Oh, yeah. Huh. I'll be darned.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it did it. Yeah.
It did a pretty good job.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna keep going straight here. Actually, I'm gonna jump back to the left.
I like that feature that you can set your own distance.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's not necessarily car lengths. It's some sort of formula of distance, and because it's on the highway when you're going 70 miles an hour, it's a different distance than on the road here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a relative speed-based distance. All right, I've engaged. There's the planner. It caught back up here. Flashing yellow there. It's going slow with a 15 mile an hour speed that is not accurate here. So this is where the map data says it's a 15 mile an hour zone. This is not 15. So I'm going to bump it up a little bit, and that's how you scroll with the scroll wheel. See that? I adjusted the speed.
Huh.
It senses a speed limit of 15 here in this neighborhood, which I'm sure the neighbors would love, but typically the speed limit is about 25 on this. Now this is an interesting intersection here. It forks and then turns in a little Y, and then has a little bit of a right turn.
Wow.
Put the blinker on there for the fork. It didn't need to do that. It's got a stop sign with this is a 4-way stop sign, I believe. Well, it's at least 3-way with a yield kind of in the middle.
How
Stopping.
weird.
Now look, see this? You can't see there, can you? So it should creep until it can see, and that's what it's doing. It's creeping. Now, right now, it's in the lane already.
Yeah.
It needs to proceed, and now, so there's a little bit of a lack of commitment there. That once you're in the lane, you need to go, right? You can't continue to creep once you're in the lane.
Yeah.
Now, I'm disengaging again, only because I'm forcing this route. It keeps wanting to go out on this road that isn't the best for test driving because it's just a straight and narrow. And the people that like to watch these videos over and over and over, they kind of like to see how it handles the exact same route and interactions over time. So I try to create scenarios that provide that. All right, once it redoes the planner is when I'll re-engage. And there it is. Okay, and this is the route I wanted back home. So here's another double flashing yellow. See that? There's two of them. And
yes.
if you look in here, let's see if you can see this.
Yeah.
Yellow, yellow, yellow. Okay, there was no red again. Let's see if they see any red on this light. There it is. See that? You see that red?
Yeah.
So the perception of that light, it confused a little bit and saw some red. And I don't know if you noticed, it tapped the brakes.
Bit, yeah.
It just tapped the brakes a bit.
Yeah. Does it pick this up? Oh, it did. Huh.
It sees the cones, not the sign. It doesn't have a picture in the system for a barrel. So anything orange, it makes a cone.
Yeah.
It displays it as a cone. Uh-oh, where is it? Oh, okay, it does not want to go through this construction zone. I'm gonna force it. And that's okay that it's rerouting, because honestly, that is really what you would want to do. It doesn't want to go through this. Yep, I'm gonna. Well, it looks like we're gonna have road closed to through traffic. So it looks like I'm gonna. Okay, actually, this is a good one. So let's see what it does here.
Oh.
Okay, that made you uncomfortable?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, a little bit too close. It went around it, but it went around it at a radius you were not happy with. Okay, so let's see what it does here. Okay, so this is the road closed. I disengaged there. It didn't. So we've seen this in videos before. It can't read that. It doesn't know what to do. And I'm looking behind me. There's nobody behind me. It should have stopped and allowed the planner to reroute. It didn't. So...
Well, I kept trying to turn.
There you go.
It knew what to do.
It tried to avoid the situation about 2 blocks back, didn't it?
Yeah.
I kept forcing it, and then ultimately we got to a point. Okay, so now there we go. Okay, this it wants to take a left here, and I don't know if you can see on the camera. You probably can. I have to go straight because this is closed to through traffic, and a police enforcing it even. So I'm gonna. Wow, we're getting quite the route today. Let's see what happens with the planner here. Okay, so now I don't know if we're going to another detour or not, but we're gonna just let it take us for a ride. Slow creep. Yeah, it needs to go to the right here because we're going back to the left to a road close. So, wow, we are getting the tour today.
That's a big one up there.
Yeah. All right, so it's going back out to Glendale Street. We'll let it go for that. We might not get an unprotected left on this video, which is actually probably fine with you. You didn't want to do those crazy turns anyway, did you? Have you seen my unprotected left turn videos?
I saw one you did with Ellie.
Oh, yeah. All right, we're turning right here. It's gonna remap and take us back out onto Glendale and Park, which is fine. So maybe in hindsight, I should have let the detour happen to avoid that, because that's what the car wanted to do. It knew there was traffic there. I don't know exactly how it knew the road was closed. It doesn't have it marked as a closed road. Right, this is a two-way stop sign, so it needs to yield to the left and to the right. There we go.
Not bad.
Not bad. Taking a left onto Park Street here, which is a one-way stop sign with traffic that is a little bit faster on Park Street, and it's got to look back to the right at a funny angle. So I'm going to give you this angle here. Nice.
Oh.
Okay, I had to disengage for that car there. So it was in this road as that car was oncoming, and that car might have stopped. It wasn't going an incredible speed, but it was in the lane before it committed, and I think it was looking to the right is what happened there.
Yeah,
How'd that feel to you?
The right side was clear, so I was looking right. I didn't see left until I felt
And then when you looked left, did you think that that car was too close and the car was just sitting there?
I didn't look left till you braked.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Saw it.
So that's a scenario where sometimes it needs to look left and right at the same time. Okay, so this median sometimes gets in the way. Let's see if it goes around this median right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it did it okay. So that single stop sign on the Park Street there was a little disappointing because there was definitely a car that I had visibility and it should have had visibility seeing, but it was stopped into the lane while it was double checking that it was clear on the right side, which is the direction you were looking to enter. It can't go into the lane and stop is the problem. It needed to do that looking back at the stop sign and the stop line, right? So being patient and knowing when and where to commit. Okay, we have a protected green arrow here. It should continue to proceed to allow as many people through as possible. Turn yellow while we're in the intersection and then float onto Roosevelt. And the speed limit is 20.
Whoa!
That was me. So that reaction from Jody wasn't from the car, that was from me. And the reason is, if you look back at the screen a few seconds, if you're watching this video, it had 20 miles an hour as the speed and it was going like 17 and 18, and there was a car right behind me that also went through that yellow and probably turned red on them, and I needed to accelerate out of that situation. I probably should have disengaged and accelerated, but I just used the intervention of the accelerator. So you're getting the whole FSD testing tour here. So interactions, how to behave, how to sort of be a human driver here while letting the car drive. I probably could have touched it a little bit lighter, but I do have the car set on performance mode instead of chill mode. So that acceleration is always available now.
That's interesting. Now, see, I would have started slowing sooner. But
On this light?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question here because it's using regenerative braking, which adds electricity back to the car. Obviously, that flow, I agree with you. If it can see the red light, why are you still accelerating?
Right.
I've talked about that in previous videos before. Coasting or a little bit less acceleration is what I would do too.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of stuff to see at an intersection like this, though.
So that's comfortable. I mean, you know, with the cars ran and everything, that's a
Yeah.
comfortable acceleration.
Yeah, it did a good job there. Now look, it does have a follow me car again, so right, it might be making some of its decisions based on the speed of the car in front of it. Oh, look here, we got a stoplight that is not lit. What does the law say you're supposed to do right here? A stoplight that's not functioning is a four-way stop, I thought. We are here proceeding, following cars. Here's another one. Now look, here, what's it going to do? It's stopping correctly. So the previous one, let's see if it goes.
I don't think you do.
Yeah, you don't. I pressed the accelerator there. It did not proceed. An inoperative stoplight, in my understanding, is a four-way stop sign. Otherwise, you have. So I pressed the accelerator, proceed. So the first one it went through. The second one it did stop.
Yeah.
Which goes back to that original roundabout. Remember where it stopped at the roundabout, even though it couldn't see the light. I think it was treating that as maybe an inoperative stoplight also. I don't know why it didn't proceed. I pressed the accelerator when it was my turn to go. Had there not been as many cars behind me, I might have sat there and waited to see when it would have proceeded.
Yeah.
But think about that use case when the power goes out and an autonomous car and the laws and the regulations.
Right. You're better off to stop. I just didn't, to me, I would have, because you're on the major thoroughfare here. If I were on the cross street, I would have certainly stopped. But being on the major thoroughfare, I probably would have just gone right through it.
So that's a good conversation to maybe to have in the comments of this video is what does everybody think the laws say? And maybe someone can actually look it up for us, at least in Florida. What does the law say you're supposed to do at an inoperative stoplight?
Yeah.
I understood it as it needs to stop, like it's a four-way stop, and then everybody goes. Obviously, that would create a lot of traffic until the lights are restored. All right, we got one turn left here. It looks like we got a red light, so it'll probably be a protected green arrow as soon as this traffic goes. Let's see here.
That's interesting because, you know, if a malfunctioning stoplight means everybody stopped, people have, I mean, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, obviously there were a lot of other drivers on that road that weren't aware of it either,
Yeah.
or they weren't doing it. They were just proceeding. And sometimes going with the flow is safer than being the one person following the law. Well, we've reached the end of our route here, and we get a little bit of a visualization of a biker here. So we've disengaged, but you can see the biker on the visualization. That's FSD 10.11.1, First Impressions to Memorial Park with Jody on the First Impressions cam. So what do you think?
Oh, no, I had a nice ride. I
Well, no,
didn't
but
get too scared. I thought I was going to get really scared.
Well, how do you think it did?
Oh, I think, well, I mean, as I say, I gave the car a 4. It was it was a little bit challenging because you did have to disengage, but we had the whole detour situation too. So, but I mean,
it did a little worse on the way back than it did on the way there. Like that stop sign, it went in the road, we had to disengage. There were a couple other things that it shouldn't have done. The inoperative stoplight was a rare encounter. For those that say, is it any better than 10.11? I didn't see anything that made me change, oh my gosh, it did that better. It was pretty low traffic today on the high-speed roads, but it's evolving, it's continuing to improve, and I think getting a third party's perspective like you, Jody, on this video is always helpful for me to recage my thought process on it. Especially like in that scenario with the road detour. It's hard to give the car any bad scores on possibly going around that road close sign when it had tried to do the detour 3 blocks ahead.
Exactly.
I put it in the situation that it perhaps it wasn't ready to do, and or it maybe thought I was trying to force it. If my house had been on the other side of that sign, maybe it would have had to go around it. Yeah, well, anyway, that's all we got today. I think we're going to stop here. I will try to get an unprotected left video before I go to work in New York this week, everybody. Keep an eye out for that. Other than that, thank you, Jody, for the drive.
You're welcome.
Have a great day, everybody.